you, Doctor Who fan, do you want to see yourself in the Doctor? Do you need representation? Not really. I just want to be whisked away by some entertainment for an hour. Well, too bad what you want as a fan. We have an agenda.
Can't enjoy anything unless you see yourself represented? Are you a white girl that needs to scream for diversity out of guilt? Wokey mom. See yourself as the Doctor. Write your own fanfic. You can be the Doctor. Or you. Or you. Or you. Wokemon. Gotta represent them all.
Ooh, what's she gonna be? Now it's just a load of bullshit. Hello everyone, I am Becca Random 42, the one, the only, the original, your favorite YouTube harpy. How do you review one episode of a show that is A, the season finale of a show with a cliffhanger, it's the end of a 3-part episode, and B, it completely retcons the entire franchise? I can't. And you know what? No, we need backup. This is gonna come out too. This episode, I've been taking notes. Now, this isn't going to have a whole bunch of, this stuff. You can't stop me. I'm a Jedi from Jakku. A little bit here and there. This episode, I was really, really racking my brain on how to review this episode, because is this even an episode of entertainment at this point? Or is this just BBC Agenda number 43? That's what it feels like to me. It doesn't even feel like it's television. Can we even quantify this and justify this as a television show at this point? Because TV, A, is supposed to entertain us. B, is supposed to be there to entertain us. So, I mean, seriously, this does not entertain anybody. And not only that, the political message and the agenda behind this is so clear that you don't have to be a 40-year-old white dude to get the message, or you're not wanted on this show.
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him.
Yeah, we get it, Brie. Nobody asked you, and get out of my video. This is a Doctor Who video. Dr. Scrunchface. Her. Her. And you know what? We get it. The UK is not just a bunch of old white dudes. We get it. There's all kinds of people, all kinds of walks of life. When I went there, I saw all kinds of people. And yeah, there's a lot of people who looked like me, except maybe the hair. They had more human-colored hair. And we got that. But the thing about the Doctor was that not everybody can be the Doctor. That's what made him special. That's what made him interesting. He was that 1 in a million unique, special star that you would want to go and travel throughout time and space with. He was there to whisk you away. And the human companions were the representation and diversity. They were always there to represent the audience, the general UK audience, the viewer. Right? And even as a colonial, I still understand and appreciate that no, the companion role, the assistant, I still call them assistants sometimes. That role is there for us because the Doctor is this fantastical alien being, and he might as well be a Smurf for all we know. He doesn't have a human identity because he's not, and you're not supposed to think that he is. You're supposed to kind of know something's a little off about this guy. Yeah, he might look like us, but a clever person's going to say, oh, the Doctor. It's the Doctor. It's the Doctor. And he's different and he's unique. And he's the one who's going to come in and save the day and fix everything. He's the one you're going to gravitate to because A, he's got the charisma, and B, he's the one in charge. He's the authority figure. This is one thing that's been a problem with Jodie Whittaker's entire run as the Doctor, is she's not an authority figure, and it's still the case. And I have to ask this question. What is the point? What is the point of making almost 60 years of canon with audio, like the radio dramas, the Big Finish stuff, the comics, the books, everything that people have been flocking to? And I'm just kind of scratching the surface on the Big Finish stuff. Oh, all the Paul McGann stuff that's out there. He has more of that stuff than I think anybody. I'm just scratching the surface on those. So shout out to Aber's 2 cents for sending those over. But why do they make us care? Why should we care about 60 years of canon if they're just gonna undo it in the blink of an eye? If they're just gonna come in and Chimballs is gonna say, actually no, it was always this other character, and who cares about what you want? We're just gonna do the entire history of who because I can. Because I can. That's like something Ryan Johnson would do. That's like something a troll would do. That's like something they would do on Star Trek.
I like science.
Nobody asked you. And I got, make your own show if you don't want what the show is. Because Doctor Who is basically an old white dude alien that runs around the galaxy and he picks up these humans, mostly from the UK, for the most part. And there were always exceptions, and we know that. But if you don't want what the show is, make your own show. Oh, but they can't do that because they don't have the talent. And not only that, nobody is going to go in and give people a lot of money, and nobody's going to be an instant audience for anything that isn't already established. We get it. Entertainment's dead. We got it. There's not a whole lot left out there, and it is a much greater chance of these lesser talented writers and producers and everybody coming in and getting their name attached to something that's already existing than somebody who's poured their life and soul into creating a universe on their own. It's so much easier because somebody else did all the work for you. Yeah, gee. And to come in and appropriate that property and insert your own crap and your agenda and to just pluck out everything that was that. And no, I'm not going to show you the YouTube clip because I think that one gets me I think that's a no-no. But to pluck out the eyeball of the franchise and take it and squish it in your hands and say, no, that is not how you come in and treat these franchises. They clearly don't like them. They clearly don't want them. They clearly want to come in and appropriate everything for themselves. And before people get upset with me about pointing out how every doctor was basically a self-insert character for everybody to identify with, well, yeah, the show was written by this guy, a white dude. So I'm not the one doing it. I'm just pointing it out and saying, hey, maybe people are a little bit more complex than what's on the outside. For this show, it likes to pride itself on being so woke and so diverse and so representative and so inclusive. But not only did they retcon Jodie's first, they also retconned Ruth. They retconned her first as well. So she's not important either. Oh no, she's not important either. Jodie's not important because she's not even the first woman. Ruth's not even the first woman of color. So I gotta get into a little bit of what the story is too, and I will in a second here. They just made it so these people are not special either. And that's the problem with Doctor Who, is the Doctor is supposed to be special. It's not supposed to be so disposable. That's what this really feels. It's like this disposable thing. It is like the iPhone. Oh, just wait for the next one. Just wait for the next regeneration. You don't like this Doctor? Wait a couple of years. We'll get you a new one. And I get it that we always had new actors in Doctor Who, but they were all treated and revered, or disliked even, for their own merits, not just as a consumable product. And that's what this show really feels like. It's a consumable product that doesn't matter any deeper than the current generation. And that's what they're really going for. They're going for this current generation of fans. They're like, oh, what does this current generation of fans want? Well, they want representation and diversity. All right, we'll give it to them. And they don't see, from a business standpoint, how that might not make sense right now. And I get it, that what they probably did was they probably had this board meeting of how can we create an extended universe to come in and ensure the existence of Doctor Who for many, many generations to come, so that we have many loopholes to keep adding more and more doctors for the next 50 years. I think that might have been part of it, but what they didn't realize is that they're continually crapping on the audience that they did have. You know, the built-in audience, the people like me who have been watching Doctor Who since the 80s. Some of you have been watching it since the 60s, right? I was watching in the early 80s on PBS when Tom Baker's face was just there and you'd hear the music come on and oh my, and that was so amazing. But they don't understand that now in this day and age, it's tradition. It's really, really tradition. And when you change something that much, and when you change the lore that much, and when you come in and you destroy everything that came before, like, oh, none of you matter. You aren't special anymore. None of this is special. No, the viewer's special now, not what's on screen. Well, then we don't care. What's the point? We have a cornucopia of diversity and representation doctors. So important, none of them had characters other than just to be shown on screen for 1 second as a face. As a self-insert, here's a doctor for you. None of them even had personalities. What were their likes? What were their dislikes? Did any of them like fish fingers and custard? Oh, they want to make everyone feel special and represented and important. You know, a doctor for everyone. And the problem when you do that is the doctor no longer is the special character. And when everybody is special, then nobody is special. And that's probably a quote from George Carlin. I know I see him on my shoulder there, and I leave him right there so I can see him when I'm recording these. Because I like to take a lot of his wisdom. And I like to look at the world in that way. And that's what it feels like. It's just, you've got a lot of people who don't quite understand the world yet. And they don't understand what they're doing. And their heart might be in the right place, but their head's up their own ass. We get it. Nobody wants to come across as not liking a certain ethnic group of people. Everybody wants to treat everybody fair and equally and treat them like people instead of just what's on the outside. Because what's on the outside doesn't matter. We all bleed red on the inside anyway. We're all pink underneath. So it doesn't matter. That's something that I've always been a believer in, is that you treat people how they are as a human, and that's the one thing that binds us together. Instead of binding us together, we are continually separated and pulled apart. And this is just one more thing. We get all these franchise splits and fandom splits. We've got the split in Doctor Who. We've got the split in Star Wars and Star Trek. And they keep splitting it. They keep splitting it. You know, we've got the people who love Star Wars. You can't stop me. I'm a Jedi from Jakku. Who are now upset that the Rey and Kylo kiss was retconned into just being platonic, and the people who were really, really upset over that and really into the romance, and they're really upset over that now. So these franchises keep losing every fan they have, and I know it's a bit of a side rant. The whole point of this episode was the Master is building a race of Cybermen using the dead Time Lords that he went in and he murdered all of them. Kept the bodies though. Oh yeah, kept the bodies. So, and I love seeing Gallifrey. Man, I love seeing Gallifrey, and I love seeing the Time Lords. I love seeing the costumes when we don't get to that much. I love seeing Gallifrey. I love seeing Cybermen. I love seeing Daleks. I love seeing all these things. Give me a good story. Take me on an adventure with the most amazing alien that we've ever seen, who's brilliant and clever and has a police box. This is an interesting concept. They could have done something with this, but no. So the Master's making all of these Cybermen Time Lord hybrids because they can regenerate and they're just basically immortal. And I like the combination where they look like just giant... They remind me a little bit of the Centauri in Babylon 5, to be honest, with their hair like that, like a statue. But it took so long to get there. It took 3 episodes to get there. So that part of the episode I could kind of live with, where he's making this hybrid race of Cybermen Time Lords, which is an interesting concept. That's pretty cool. I like that. But the explanation of how and the long roundabout way of getting there is that they're trying to go in and give a reason for the Doctor being so important and the Master being not. And they made, and here's the thing, this is very much related to the whole the Doctor needs to be special thing. The Doctor needs to be special in a mythical way that you don't understand and you don't know. And they still kind of left it open a little bit. Sometimes we don't need the backstory. Okay, sometimes we don't need, especially if it's not going to be good and it's going to destroy the entire series. Sometimes the starting point that we already had was good enough and that made everything special, but now you're like, oh, well, this took away from everything. Oh, so now it's just Space Jeebus. This man right here decided that the Doctor was no longer going to be from Gallifrey. Jodie, what do you think of that? No, you don't like it either. Doctor, you're not from Gallifrey. Oh, and you're not even the first either. Because he's got to play a giant game of
Wokemon.
And decide to
Race swap.
And
Gender swap.
And in some cases, making
Double shiny. Race and gender swap.
out of the Doctor. He took away the Doctor's origin. He took away the Doctor's heritage. The Doctor is no longer from Gallifrey. And this is why this season is a giant dumpster fire. Oh, yeah. And it's all this man's fault. It is not that these people even care about diversity and representation. It is not that these people care about anything other than making the most noise on the social media sites, getting the most traction out there, the most people talking about it, to make it as trending as it can. And we saw the same thing with Game of Thrones, Star Wars, Star Trek. They're doing it with Doctor Who now because it makes people talk about it. And just what does all of this representation do for people like me? I'm the B in the alphabet of the alphabet people. It doesn't do anything for us to be used as a token, as a circus freak. It doesn't do anything for people of any ethnic group to be used like that. Just to be a talking point for ratings and clicks. And curiosity and impressions. These are viewer impressions. This is how many people are talking about it on the internet. And it doesn't do anything for longtime viewers to destroy your canon like that. Just for attention. We saw this with Game of Thrones. We saw this with Star Wars. We're seeing this now in Doctor Who. You're just annoying your viewers. And at least in Game of Thrones, it was out of incompetence. That's all this really feels like. So here's where the episode takes a giant crap all over itself in the most boring way possible. You've got this little kid floating around in space, I guess. The old bag lady comes and gets the kid. And it's the Doctor, but it's the first incarnation of the Doctor, completely. But the Doctor doesn't remember because she's had her memory wiped. And apparently they keep doing this time and time and time again. So what happens is the bag lady who adopts the kid, saves the kid's life, ends up taking it to a planet. Planet ends up being Gallifrey, where she's playing with another kid. Now, I don't know if the kid was always on the planet. Were there people on this planet? Were there Gallifreyans on this planet to begin with? That part they never really cleared up in this episode. And I went back through and I scrolled through a couple of times. I couldn't find an actual explanation of this. But the little girl's playing, gets shoved off of a cliff, and regenerates. And that's the explanation that's the first ever regeneration that ever took place on Gallifrey. And after that, all the Time Lords ended up being infused with that little kid's DNA because the old bag lady did experiments and I guess spread it throughout the population. So there were people there, I guess, already. And this is where it's fuzzy for me. So she took the DNA of the little kid. How did her physiology, the Doctor's physiology, the Doctor, our Doctor's physiology, end up being the same as these mythical aliens on this planet that look humanish but are probably Gallifreyan? Now, did it change their DNA and give them two hearts? Is that part of it? Is this what happened? That's where I'm a little fuzzy on, and that's one of the big plot holes about this episode, and that's one of the things that made it so hard to watch just for entertainment purposes. Forgetting if I knew anything about Doctor Who, it was bad because it was not engaging and it wasn't very clear. It's another one of those Vogt Tyler situations like on Star Trek Discovery.
I like science.
Nobody asked you, Spock. This is one of the biggest problems with this episode, though. It was so boring and so poorly done. So apparently all the Time Lords that ever existed only exist because the Doctor's DNA is in them now. meaning she's the originator of everything, but not this version of her. This might be, 57,000th regeneration for all we know, leaving it wide open for everybody to have a doctor that looks like them, right? That is the biggest problem I have with this whole show, is that it is so boring and it just feels like they don't care about what the story is in place of what kind of agenda they can push. What can they get rid of? What can they fix? Like, oh, well, the doctors have always been a bunch of old white dudes. How do we fix that? I don't know. Make it so that she was the originator of everything and she regenerated like 20 different times and show one of every color of the rainbow. Because diversity! Yay! Here's where I start losing my mind. This show, I can't rate it as an episode other than it broke Doctor Who. I think it broke me. I think it really, really broke me. I've been taking notes. Like I said, I took notes for the last 2 days on what I wanted to rant about. What was the big focus of this? And Chris Chimballs, you are the rusty coat hanger in the womb of Hartnell's doctor. Oh yeah. You're the coat hanger that yanks him out before he's done yet and says, you know what? No. And you stomp him under your foot and you retcon the whole show and you made none of it special or important now. And it's bad enough. We didn't even get to have a funeral. We didn't even get to take the body home and cremate it. No. We didn't even get a bunch of hippies come in and recycle the afterbirth. We got nothing for this. It is 50 plus years for nothing. Why should I bother caring about what doctor said what doctor came when? It doesn't matter anymore. They're not important. They're not special. That's not where it starts anymore. And I get tired of being dragged along. And you know what? If the stories were good, people probably wouldn't mind. But here's the thing with something like Doctor Who. I get it. We can go in back and forth through time. There's good ways to do that. This person is not capable of doing that. Not at all. And he's get off my screen right now. Thank you. I need some palate cleanser on this one, I think. Save us, Baby Yoda.
Do the magic hand thing. Come on, baby. Do the magic hand thing.
Aww.
I'm out of ideas.
Nope, I don't think that's gonna help either. Batwoman? No. Still not. Maybe something a little hotter. It's a little better. I still can't forgive Doctor Who, but I can give this episode probably a 2 out of 10. There's some interesting ideas. There's some interesting things. I don't like being retconned all over the place every few years. And if you don't like what a show is, don't make that show. Go make a different show. Stop appropriating our thing. Stop trying to make everybody special when they're not. Focus your priorities on what actually is special, Chibnall. I'm not happy with this episode, and I know you just lost a lot of your fans over this one. The ratings aren't doing very well. They're dropping, and we know it. And what's sad is that this is going to come back for another season. And I'll be there. Oh, yes. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. I am MechaRandom42, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye!